Well, I'm glad you bring this up because
I want walkie-talkies.
we should.
Be like,
well, we could have walkie-talkies.
we're coming out soon. Like,
why not?
Well, now that we know what the story is for this, like the basic overview
and the tone,
I think we should talk about the shooting rules of this.
Okay.
So the guy who did Victoria said the more he tried to pre-plan everything and the more he tried to think ahead and be like, okay, we should have 2 cameras or we should do this or do that, the more he just started falling into this pit of like, we'll never pull this off. We'll never do it. And at some point he just said, F it. You just got to shoot it. Stop trying, like, break the rules. Know you're going to... There are definite scenes in Victoria where they're out of focus for 5 seconds, and then they finally get it. And it's like... But he knew that in his rule of shooting, if you're out of focus, don't say cut. Fix your focus. If we didn't get a good line of dialogue, keep moving. So what would you think are some basic rules we should follow that are breaking everything we did with 9 or like going against the norm, I guess?
I think it's definitely going to be a bit of a sandbox movie. And what I mean by that is if you think about video games, a first person shooter on rails, very linear, or GTA sandbox game where everything is possible and everything is open and the rules are eliminated in a sense. But I think you have to approach it with kind of that sandbox mentality that anything could happen and will probably happen, and we're definitely going to have to be ready to roll with the punches. And I think clearly I'm pretty easygoing. We've worked together enough where that sure. I definitely don't really get particularly hung up on if details change, so I'm not a very analytical person in that sense. But one of my biggest rules for it would be definitely everyone has to be prepared for the oddities that are going to come. Everyone's got to be ready to roll with everything. And I think I think I mentioned earlier, a big rule is we definitely can't be like getting hung up on like, okay, let's try that again. We can't have 12 takes of something. No. Obviously, we're going to have segments of it that are one take in a sense. And every now and then, I'm sure there's obviously going to be aspects that are going to require a little bit more of a stop for a second and get ready. But we certainly can't be doing multiple takes of everything. It's just not. I know. It's not feasible. Yeah. So like that's the biggest rule. The biggest rule is basically going to have to be like that director of Victoria. We can't be getting hung up on like, oh man, that was out of focus for like 5 seconds. Let's do that 5 minutes again. You just can't do it.
Yeah, and like they say, if the story's good, then whoever your audience is, whether it's your mom or just you or 5 people at a theater, if the story's good, they'll forgive shit. They'll say, I know what they went through to do this. Don't care that they're slightly out of focus here, or don't care that they cut away to that. And with that in mind, it's like you said, definitely no 12 takes, but I'm thinking, I kind of thought about, okay, you've got 40 scenes. Let's say we gave ourselves 8 hours to shoot this movie. So in 4 hours, you shoot 20 scenes. In 2 hours, you shoot 10 scenes. In 1 hour, that means you shoot 5 scenes. 5 scenes in 60 minutes is 12 minutes per scene for an entire day without ever taking a break for 8 hours. Mm-hmm. You have 12 minutes to knock out every scene for 8 hours straight. So I think one of the first rules should be, if you feel 75% like, yeah, it was a pretty good take, then that takes gold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That especially from a production aspect, production value aspect. Yeah. I think the bar definitely has to get dropped in that regard, because you can't get hung up on every focus that's a little bit, or like, man, the composition was slightly off the rule of thirds or whatever you're going by. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
With Niner, it was sort of like, well, if like you go for 100%, but you can definitely tell like, man, I never got in focus perfect, or I maybe panned too quick for this and then I bumped back, but the actor did a great job, so we'll just roll with it. And you kind of feel like it's a 95% all the way there if I didn't just do that, or sound if the door didn't bang or something. But in this case, it's like, nope. It's almost like if it's 50%, you keep going. And going with that is like the script. I think a rule should be, if you don't hit your dialogue, that's fine. Like, you should be in the moment, and my hope would be that the actors come with almost all of it memorized. Now you're talking an entire movie memorized in a whole night, or, you know, you have months to memorize it, but, you know, they do it for plays, so it's doable, but they also rehearse months to do it. And we're not going to do that. We're going to be Woody Allen style, where Owen Wilson never met Woody Allen until the day he showed up on set and shook his hand. He's like, all right, go do your scene. And he just did it in one take, and they moved on.
I'm glad you mentioned, like, you can memorize a full script for a play and stuff. I think if not all of our key actors come from that world, I think we'll be one step further along. And I think another rule is, like, something that we don't typically do is, I can't think of many projects that I've filmed chronologically, and I think for this we absolutely have to for continuity reasons and other reasons. And so I think having actors that are, not that it has to be a rule, but if you have actors that are very used to doing a play, memorizing a whole thing, and doing it from A to B, not hopping in, you know, here and then there and then there, I think that kind of stuff will really help us out. Yeah,
I actually think, like the guy in Victoria said, there's so much. You could just, like, feel the energy, like, dripping off these people, because they know everything's at stake. It's all or nothing. Here we go. And he said everything felt like alive. And he said he's never been on a production like that ever again. And the guy who directed Victoria. Okay. I have a feeling that when the actors arrive and it's go time and we start, and they know that, well, if I'm finishing this scene out of breath, I better start the next scene out of breath. Like, it'll be live, kind of. So, so I think, like, maybe another rule is, so yeah, like you said, shoot chronologically. Now I've thought about, well, what if we got started earlier, like 2 hours before all the extras are required or something, and we just did, like, all the, like, backroom scenes. I thought about that. I'm still not sure. To me, it almost seems like it kills the fun of it or something.
Yeah, I like
the challenge of it.
I like the challenge of it,
Because what if something went wrong?
I think, like, the extras that we bring in, the continuity aspect, right? So I think anyone that comes in as an extra, just part of this is, you're gonna, you know, obviously when we did Niner, we had the courtroom scene and we had a lot of extras for that, and the goal in that was take everyone's time into account. And we wanted the extras to be there as low, or what's the word I'm looking for? We wanted them to be there as little as possible, right? We didn't want them to be there all day. But I think whoever signs up for this, and then that situation, we had the opportunity to film it out of order and however we needed to. With this situation, whoever's an extra, it's just going to be like, hey, you're here because you know that you're going to be a part of a full night thing.
And you're going to be standing in a place.
Yeah, instead of sitting in your living room all night, you're going to stand in our banquet all night. And it's just going to have to be a thing. So I would vote for film it chronologically, and I think there's going to be a lot of segments, we haven't broken it down yet, but there's going to be a lot of scenes that we're doing 6 straight scenes in one take.
Yeah,
you know, so there's going to be times that it's like I would rather do a scene in the main banquet room, into the kitchen, back out in back, like in one long continuous thing, than get all that kitchen stuff done, then everybody shows up, do all the banquet, like.
I know.
The big fun of it is, I'm excited to do it as close to a one take as possible, to be honest with you. I know that's not exactly what we're doing, but I just love the idea of, like, okay, everybody shows up at X time, and we're going to do it. And, you know,
I want to go as far as, like, telling the actress who plays Eleanor, hey, you're the assistant of the guy running the show tonight. So when extras are coming in, I want you going around shaking their hand and saying, you know, grab a glass of wine over there, talk amongst yourselves, you know, and just kind of being a leader. Yeah. But we might have, like, 2 or 3 directors, like a director of the guests.
Well, I'm glad you bring this up, because
I want walkie-talkies.
We should.
Like,
well, we could have walkie-talkies.
We're coming out soon. Like,
why not?
I think it's vital.
Oh yeah. But no, actually, I'm glad you bring that up, because I think in a way, like, we definitely can't micromanage everything. We have to take a big step back. So we basically have to assign production roles to a lot of people, and we're saying, hey, look, you're in charge of this.
Night's in your hands.
Like this, you're in charge of this aspect. You're in charge of. It's very much like playing football. Everyone do your job, and we'll win the game.
So much more fun.
And yeah, so like I think that's a good idea. Like you have that Eleanor actress. Like, look, you're basically controlling, you're basically handling the extras. You know, have them do this, have them do that. Yeah, like I think that's a rule that I think we're gonna have to have is basically there's gonna be 12 producers that night. You know, 12 directors, whatever word you want to use.
Anyone that we can slip into this crowd of people at the reception, like crowd of archaeologists or big bank people, whoever we can slip in as basically a mole who is like kind of running the crowd, that's perfect. And you know, there might be those times where we come out of the kitchen and the camera whips around and everyone's just staring at us and like, oh shit, we weren't ready. You know, that might happen. And we all laugh.
5 feet, no big deal.
Yeah, 5 feet.
Yeah,
say,
it's not a big deal.
All I gotta do is put the camera here and let him walk out this way, and you know, everyone's set. And
we are, I don't know if you've discussed the production style, but we're basically having 2 to 3 cameras do a one take.
Yeah.
In a lot of these ways. So that kind of pickup shot will be very easy because we're not using one camera.
You're always covering yourself. Yeah. So shooting styles is going to be more like, in my mind, steady cam is a cam, and you treat it as though you are hitting 100% of the shots of the night. That's how you treat it, knowing that you're always going to cut away. You're
going to screw up at some point.
But
not cut away because screw up, but
right, cut away for just close-ups. You know, maybe it's an important moment. Then you've got a B and a C cam, and I would like to have like those guys on a roaming monopod, or maybe tripod. Either works. You know, there's no reason no one needs to die, but that way 70 to 200, they're far enough back that they're out of the scene, but they can still, you know, capture a lot.
Yeah.
I'm actually considering Leah as a third, which she doesn't know that.
Just having that third cam up on hand allows one of us, you know, like maybe I need to step back and handle like something. Speed. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's a cutaway shot to the crowd that we're actually not focusing on right now.
Yeah,
like it would save the edit.
Yeah, totally.
Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it could even be a dramatic shot.
Somebody like Leah would be good.
I know, because Leah's super
somebody needs
smart.
to have somebody needs to be able to fly in the seat of their pants and kind of just make a call.
Yeah, and I would definitely like talk about that and kind of coach it a little and be like, all right, look, shoot this as though it's your movie.
This is the secondary focus. Yeah. This is what we're not thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, we have these elements covered.
So that's just the video side. So like 2 roamers and then 1 Steadicam. And the Steadicam should never need to get closer than like a medium close-up of someone. Maybe there will be that hero shot where it pushes right up in, but the others, you know, they're handling things. And you'd have to tell a shooter, like, you are known as the left side shooter. We're all going to stay on like this 180-degree line. You know, if the scene goes that way and you can't catch up, just zoom in. You'll catch up later, and that means you'll be sticking on the right side people's faces. Vice versa, your right side shooter will always be on the left. Like a pretty easy thing. And maybe there'll be key moments where we'll say, hey, because it's going to be chaotic. So we're not going to give them a list of like, don't forget you get this close up. It's just going to be like, grab a close up with that cake. Like, I don't know how to say it. Yeah. And then in terms of audio, I personally think the boom has to die.
Yeah, I don't
think
I have
we're nothing
against
it. Everywhere. I have nothing against it, but no way anyone could work that long and actually get good audio on the fly.
No, not in this situation.
I think you get 5 lavs. You put 1 on each of the 3 mains. You know, I guess we'll just see.
Well, you know, I think it also depends on the spaces too. I think we've walked away from rules in a way here, but I mean, like the kitchen. You know, we should be able to place some mics in a kitchen, a small kitchen, where we don't have to have lavs on people. Well, let me put it this way.
Because how much use
actually,
is it gonna
get? Well, actually, let me take it in a different direction. Let me change what I'm saying there. I like the idea of you lav up all your mains and stuff, but maybe like one rule is to like, okay, let's also put some booms in some places where we know some stuff's gonna go down. Like one problem with lavs is, you know, I don't want to have to do a lot of ADR, and if you have Dave or whoever plays Mudge and all of a sudden he's wailing, I mean, Ezra, whoever's like taking audio is gonna have to be real on top of that kind of thing to not clip and stuff like that.
True.
So to have like maybe in certain areas where, you know, like the kids scene, there's a scene with kids and And maybe in that scene, you never know when a kid is gonna like scream and do a high pitched squeal, as they're laughing. Yeah. So maybe in those spaces you have hidden shotgun mics or something to do coverage audio so that you have something there.
You know what I would like to do? Mic every actor up for their volume of their voice, for like their normal talk, maybe a little loud, so you're a little low. I mean, anytime I've ever under mic'd someone, like it's not hitting like -2, it's like hitting -18, like pretty low.
Yeah.
You raise that, it's all right.
It's fine.
And so I'd rather keep not -12, more like -16 average at room talk voice. And then you have like a roaming boom guy who isn't even needed in every scene, but he just kind of chills around. And when we're like, hey, we're gonna have a scene with one of the security guards, he's not mic'd, so you just mic him, and then he mics them, and then we move on. And then maybe there's a screaming scene, and you just back that boom out, and you've got the scream.
The Zoom has like when you use the front attachment, the LR attachments, when you record that, you can do whatever level you're recording, and it also does a backup file that gives you like a 20 decibel cushion. But when you start plugging lavs into the side ports, you don't get that backup. I wonder if there's a device that you can record to have that backup off of a lav.
Tascam just came out with a product that's like the DR something, MK1 or something, and actually it's a new idea because they started realizing everyone doing what I'm doing, stick a lav into a sound recorder. They built a tiny box. It's just hardly bigger than 2 batteries. It has a hard screw connection from the lav mic in, and it records one track at whatever you set, and the other one's always -12 lower than that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that gives you the cushion.
Yeah, and it's so you can lock in your lavs, so they'll never come out. It's like robust, and it's tiny, but it doesn't send anything to a camera. It's just it's a wave recorder.
Yeah. Interesting.
So a lot of like wedding guys are moving to that because they're like, dude, it'll never get broke. They can't switch it off.
Because I think if we get something like that, not that I don't know if we haven't talked about raising money and stuff, but like if we have something like that gives us that cushion, I think like with audio, I don't want to do ADR.
No,
Ezra doesn't want ADR.
Not at all.
So I think if we bring this, obviously we have to talk to Ezra about his ideas as well, but I think if we can have a device that gives us that kind of a cushion, that'd be great.
Right, and I mean renting.
I would hate to like.
Those cost like I think they're like $100 right now, but renting one.
We just have to rent for 2 days.
I know. Rent it for the weekend. Oh my god! Like you're talking probably $30.
You said Tascam makes that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up.
It's a pretty nice product. A lot of people just rave, and you might be able to set it on an auto gain, which I know everyone's like, oh, then you get the loud static when they're not talking, but in this type of case, might not be that bad. Because then you set it and forget it.
I'm definitely going to check that product out.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
A lot of the interviews I film, at some point they just like laugh or get excited, or like they'll say their gold statement, and a lot of times when people are like kind of saying their gold statement, they're getting excited and they start getting louder. Now I typically have the Zoom right in my hand and I can handle it.
Why don't you split it?
I guess I need to buy more stuff, really.
See that splitter on that camera? It's $4.
Yeah.
And
you just find that at the True Value, basically.
It's just Amazon.
Just Amazon?
Or maybe it's B&H, but it's got like 5 stars, and they're like, oh, you just split any boom mic. So your mic's split right now in case you get really giggly.
So how are you splitting it exactly? Over here, you're saying?
Yeah.
Let me look at this real quick.
It's like the cheapest thing, and it works perfect. I send phantom
so basically
levels through one.
You're doing both channel 1 and 2, and you have one just lower.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying?
It's amazing. I only shoot like that now.
I think I'm gonna steal that from. I think you mentioned that to me before.
I just left it on. The freaking thing might even be turned on still. It's from our previous shoot.
That's cool.
But yeah,
Sweet.
like
okay,
literally $5.
Yeah.
So I run my lavs through that. I run this through that. Shotgun through that.
I'll totally do that. Well, I guess sounds good.
And almost every time my A channel does get peaked, so I don't even look at A anymore. I just take B and raise it up. Done. You know what I mean? Which is like lazy, but it doesn't matter. Nobody will ever know.
Yeah. I like that.
So yeah, if you could throw a lav, especially one of these like DR whatever things, where it's like pretty much bolted in, and they do it all the time. They hide lavs in collars. They hide lavs everywhere. We put them on our groom right underneath this tie for the whole event, and you never see it.
Yeah.
And even if it was on screen for 5 seconds, don't care.
Yeah.
Like you move forward, you get not even 90% right, you get 50% right, and you got a movie. So if you put, like, let's say in a perfect world, you've got 8, and the only real characters you got a boom mic are like a couple guests, maybe a security guard if he's got an offhand comment, maybe another guy.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're like sold.
Yeah.
So, and that would involve the audio person in a much more fun and dynamic way or interesting way. He'd be like, "Are you mic'd? Okay, you know, mic him for a scene and then move on."
Yeah.
And he's, you know, arms are down again. Like, I think that would be pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. And I believe like lighting, we're just doing natural lighting.
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought about one thing, taking an LED light because they're so cheap now, and setting it in a softbox on a stand and keeping everything under like 4 pounds or whatever, and just have it the option to roam it around. Like if you know you got a conversation between 2 people, maybe just set it off to a side. Maybe I'll do that.
It's not a bad idea. We just obviously have to have a crew member that's dedicated to that.
Exactly.
So yeah. No, I like that idea. The only lighting I had thought of that would be like special in any way was just like the item itself, lighting that setting up in a unique way, because obviously it's like the Holy Grail.
I know.
Or whatever, you know.
That's the thing.
But a lot of the spaces I think pretty much have to be. It depends.
If they're dark,
once we actually have a place,
if they're dark, we could always just keep a light in there that just like floor level, pointing up, pumping light at the ceiling, just to raise ambient.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna hold off for right now. We've got so much more to talk about. So in the meantime, we'll catch you later.